Hello guys, welcome back. In this video, let us learn one more way to put our data into Kinesis. In real time, your Kinesis will collect the data. That is where you stream your data in Kinesis data streams, right? Yes. So in real time, what happens? Your data will be there. So you need to put the data into your Kinesis streams. So from where your data will come, your data maybe comes from multiple application sources. Like that, your data may come from multiple sources. It may be applications or services, whatever it may be, or database. So from wherever it may be, you get your data from them. So if we consider our data is coming from applications, then in which way we get the data into this Kinesis? In the form of by using API gateways. By using API gateways only, your applications will send your data to this Kinesis data streams. So in order to send that, we need to know, right, how to send our data by using API gateway to this Kinesis, right? Yes. So in this lab, we're gonna learn that. In practical, we will learn how to send our data from by using API gateway endpoint to this Kinesis data stream. So for this, I'm just now creating a data stream. I already created one API gateway. I'll show you that after creating this Kinesis data stream. So for creating this, we already have this option, create data stream, and provide your stream name. Currently, I'm expecting to provide the stream name as lab stream. So that's why I provided like that. Now, for this demo purpose, I'm using provision. You can use this on demand for real time scenario. That is, if you want your number of shards or write capacity and read capacity based on your throughput, that is a number of requests. So in that case, AWS will dynamically provide you if you use this on demand, or else if you use this provision mode, then you need to manually provide number of shards you want. So in those shards only your read and writing will be happen. So currently for this demo session, 2 shards are sufficient for me to read and write my data into it. And I'm moving on with the default data options. And now I'm just clicking on create data stream. You can see my status of this stream was under creating state. Maybe of, yeah, you can see now the data stream, that is a lab stream, was successfully created and the state is active state. So now I have my stream, and I'll also show you that API gateway interface. So whatever the API gateway that I have previously created and attached to AWS services, now I'll show you. So in this video, just focus on Kinesis data streams. That is how to put your records through these API gateways to Kinesis data streams. You can analyze here. I have one API. I'm just opening this. Now you can see you have under record, we have post request, and under records, we have post request. Under records, we have post request, and under record, we also have post request. So basically, in order to put some data into any one of the AWS service, in that case, we need to select this type of API gateway. That is a REST API we are using now. You can see here AWS integration. That means whenever a client hits this particular endpoint, API gateway endpoint related to this post, then the method request will goes to AWS integration service. So here we are using our integration service as Kinesis, that is a lab stream that we just created. Now you also need to see this. That is, what is the content type? What is the content type? Application underscore JSON. So this we're gonna use in our program that we use to run or put our data into this. So with just an API gateway that we created previously and attached to our lab Kinesis stream that we just created, that is a lab stream. So now we will see how to do, that is how to put our data into Kinesis by using this API gateway endpoint. So where do I get these endpoints, sir? You can see here stages are there. Just click on stages under your API endpoint. Then you can see a invoking URL is available here. You just copy it. By using this invoking URL only, you are putting your data inside your Kinesis data streams. I just copied now. So now in order to put our data into Kinesis data streams, I need some sample data. So for that, now I'm expecting to use an EC2 instance to generate that data. And after generating that data, I'm expecting to use this API gateway to put that particular generated data into Kinesis data streams. That is the lab stream in particularly we discussed that we created just now. So in order to generate some random script, I'm opening my EC2 dashboard. By using EC2 instance, by connecting to one of the EC2 instance, I'm going to generate the script and I'm going to upload that JSON script into our Kinesis streams by using this API call. You can see one instance is running. Now I'm opening that instance. You can see this is running. Now I just clicked on it. That is, I just selected this. Now I'm expecting to connect. So that's why I'm clicking here to connect. You can see I'm just clicking on connect. Now we just entered into this instance connect EC2 instance connect option. Now at the bottom you can see an option is there to connect. Now I'm just clicking on this so that it will open me a one more new tab with establishing connection to that EC2 instance. Now it will connect to my EC2 instance. So you can see it was connected successfully. So now what are my two tasks? I need to generate some JSON script and I want to put that JSON script to my Kinesis data streams continuously by using my API gateway endpoint that we copied previously. To use the API URL, I'm just expecting to store in one variable. So by using export command, I'm just creating one variable that is API URL. So in this, I'm just expecting to store that. So previously I have copied that URL, right? That is API gateway URL endpoint. Now I'm just pasting it by pressing Control Shift V. You can see that was just pasted now. Now I am just clicking enter. You can see that was stored under this variable. You can even verify that by using echo command. Here echo is nothing but printing the data which is present under particular variable that you are specified by using dollar. So you can see it was printed the value. So if you do not specify dollar here, then it just print this API URL only. because echo represents print, where dollar represents the value which is present inside this variable. Now we just printed the value which is present inside this variable by using this dollar command, dollar and echo. Okay. Now this variable holds my API URL. So we will use this API URL when we are generating the streams. So in order to generate records, I need some code, right? In order to generate some JSON records, I need some code, right? So now let's see that code. I have already copied that code. Now I am just pasting that code by using Ctrl+Shift+V command. So don't worry, I'll explain you this code as well. So let us see what is this. So we just created a generate data function. We can define a generate data function in this way. So now we just created a function with the name generate data. So in this, we are created multiple variables like partition key we created and UUID we created, type we created, account we created, source we created, and data we created. Timestamp also one more variable. So like this, these many variables we created. How do we create it is, we created this partition key by generating random UUID. So inside my process system kernel, I have random folder. So inside that, we are generating a random UUID and then we are assigning that value as partition key. So every time when I call this function, this line will be executed, and so every line will be executed whenever I call this function. So first, it will generate a random UUID and it will assign to the partition key. Then again, it also generates one more UUID randomly and it stores that ID in this UUID. So this partition key, I'm expecting to use that in order to share my data, JSON data between my shards. I want to use this partition key. This UUID, type, account, source, data, these all represents timestamp. These all I want to put under my data record. And this partition key I want to provide to share my data, whatever the data, that is this whole data among my multiple shards. Since we created two shards, our data will be distributed among two shards based on the partition key that we provided. So this partition key, how I am generating? We are generating randomly by using this UUID. Similarly, we generated this UUID by using the randomly by using this UUID. So like this, we generated two variables, partition key and UUID. So what about this type, sir? So this type, we have in real-time applications, we have multiple types, right? Starting type is there, starting type event is there, and navigate type event is there, error events also there, function that is finished events also there, right? Yes. So I have written all these events. So in real time, you also have much more. Currently, for our example, these are sufficient. So I have written only these. This echo statement will just print the data. So for particular event, I only get only one type, right? Yes, either start or navigate or error or finish as my output, right? For this type. So in order to get only one, randomly to pick one among all these, I'm just using this shuff command. So by using this shuff command, we are just picking one value, either finish or error or navigate or start. And we are just printing the data inside this variable. Similarly, here also, we have multiple accounts like customer accounts, premium accounts, business accounts, like that. I have multiple accounts, multiple user accounts for my application. So in order to pick one account randomly, I just used this shuff command and picked one account and printed by using echo command to this variable account. So similarly here also under sources, I have mobile sources there, desktop sources are there, browser sources are there. I just mentioned here few. In real time multiple are there. So based on your requirement, you need to increase them. So currently for this scenario, I'm just choosing these three. That's it. And so based on shuff command, it will randomly pick one as your source and assign by using this echo command to this source, right? Yes. So each and every time I got my partition key, random partition key, UUID and type among these types and account among these accounts and one source among these sources, right? Yes. So now data. Under data, I'm just creating some data, that is by using this command, by using this slash dev slash u random command, we are just generating this head C20 command. We are just generating a character sequence of 20 characters. We are just generating a sequence of 20 characters randomly by using this command. Then we are just picking only these, that is capital. So by using this command, we are just printing only, we are just picking only capital A to Z and small a to Z and 0 to 9. That is alphanumeric characters only we are taking. So if we found any characters other than alphanumeric characters from this, then we are just removing the data and we are just accepting only alphabets or numeric values, numeric characters, and just we are printing that by using this echo command. We are just printing that data in our data. So here we are just generating some alphanumeric data and storing that data inside this variable by using this whole command. Okay. So what about this timestamp, sir? So in this timestamp, I am expecting to store my current time and date. So this date and percentile S and percentile 3 N represents to get your current date and time. And we are just storing that inside this variable. So till now, we just generated the data. What we did, we just generated the data. We haven't even created any JSON format file. We just generated the data. What we generated a random partition key, UUID, type, account, source, data, timestamp. So these are the things we just generated. Now we need to create a JSON script, right? Yes. So in order to create a JSON script, so this is the thing where we actually creating our JSON script. So here we are providing two arguments. First one is PK and second one is DT, where in my mind I assumed this PK as partitioned key and this DT as data. So in this PK place, for this PK variable, what I need to store my partition key value, right? So that's why I represented by using dollar partition key. Now in this DT, I'm expecting to store all my data like UUID, type, account, source, data, and timestamp. So that's why I provided those values by using comma separately and I assigning that to these values in the form of arguments. Then which format of data that I'm expecting to create? Actually, I'm expecting to create JSON format of data. So that's why I created my partition key colon, that is I just created, this is the JSON format of data, that is within flower braces we write our key value pair. So if we write our data in the form of key value pair inside our flower braces, opening and closing flower braces, then we can say that type of data format as JSON data. So whenever I call this generate data function, what it will do, it will generate all these data variables. Then it also generates JQ, that is it also generates some JSON file. Here you can see for partition key, I'm storing PK value, where PK value is nothing but partition key. This is randomly generated from here. And for data, I'm holding DT value, where this DT value is nothing but these whole values, that is UUID, type, account, source, and timestamp. So that I gonna get from these things, right? From these variables, I gonna get that data. So like this, we are generating one JSON script which contain partition key as well as our data. So now I'm just clicking on enter so that this generate data function will be now created. Whenever I call this function, then I got this JSON script. So how many times do I call this function? Those many times I got my JSON script. Random JSON script will be generated and I got that JSON script. So now we successfully generated this JSON script by using this function. Now what we need? We need to put our data into Kinesis by using API call, right? By using this API URL, I need to put my data into my Kinesis, right? So for that, let us see how to do that. Now I am just pasting the command. I have already written that command as well previously. So now I'm just pasting that command as well. You can see I have pasted from here. So from here to here, I have written a code. So what is this code, sir? So this code only uses our API URL gateway. So what gateway it is using? It is using API URL. So what does this dollar API URL? So what value do I got here? So whatever the value that we previously provided, this value you got in place of there. In place of API URL, you got that value, and that value comes here, and inside our record, our values will be stored, right? Yes. Okay, by using that API URL, we are putting our record. So how we are putting? We're writing by using write out. By using write out command, we are writing whatever the generated data. So that we are writing in our Kinesis streams by using this API URL. So we have already provided that API URL variable, and in that API URL, in the records, we are expected to write. So for that, this curl command is used to do that, to write the output in new lines. So each and every time in new lines to write our output, so that we are specifying here, and the request type is post. Since we created a post represents posting, putting the data into this URL. So the request type is post. So we just provided the request type is post. Even I have shown you in the API gateway, we have created one post request. And for that post request also, we have seen the header, that is content type is application forward slash JSON. So you have seen this, right? Yes. So whenever you are requesting to any API gateway, like it may be put request or get request, then you need to follow the header format and request format and data format you need to follow those things. If you forgot to follow those things, then you may not get the result. You may get CORS error, or for your origin, there is no authentication available to access the API resource. So those types of errors you got. So in order to avoid those, you need to provide these three things. That is, a request type you need to provide, header you need to provide, and the type of data that you need to provide. So that's it. Record type, that is request type, and header type. Those two things you must need to provide while sending your request. And so how we are sending? We first create, we first need to generate. So where is this? We first need to generate our JSON data, right? Yes. So in order to generate our JSON data, so I used this command. So generate JSON data, and dollar represents, it will get the value from this variable. So whenever it calls, it will generate the JSON data, this function, and returns this JSON file, and that will be stored under this JSON data. So by using this curl command, we are writing our data. So we specified our data in the form of like this, hyphen data and dollar JSON data. So this we are writing to this URL, API URL / record, and we are requesting this URL in the form of what? In the form of post request. Then we also specified the header type details. So by using this authentication, it will find the request maybe come from particular URL with some details. So it will put the record. This API gateway will put the record under our Kinesis data stream that we created. And this for loop will generate the sequence. This for loop, basically we return to run this same script. How many times is 10 times. And after running 10 times, I'm sleeping. That is, I'm stopping this creating JSON script and writing into our Kinesis by using this API URL for 10 seconds. Then after, we are again going to while loop. This while loop, here we haven't provided any condition. So it will execute for infinite number of times. And then it does every time. That is, after every 10 seconds, again it comes to first statement. Then again 10 times it will generate the JSON data. Then again, by using the curl command, it will write everything in new line, and by using the post request, it will post the data. It will post this particular JSON data that we provided under this API URL Kinesis data stream by using this header. So that's having this header. So that's the thing. Before we executing this command, let us analyze our Kinesis data stream has any data or not. Then after we execute this command, and then after we analyze again, does our Kinesis data stream got the data or not? So I'm just moving back. You can say I have one Kinesis data stream. I'm just opening it. You can see under this, we have an option that is data viewer. So currently we do not have any records. You can see that is clearly mentioned here. No records. We can view our data from here. So if we put any data in our stream, in our Kinesis data stream, we can view our data from here. And we can even analyze our data from here. And you can even monitor CloudWatch related metrics from here, from this option. And applications you can monitor, like from which application you are getting, from which producer or consumer you are doing these things. So those you can able to do from here. And from configurations tab, you can able to see the configurations. And from here in configurations tab, you can even able to edit the capacity modes or provision modes and manage tags and edit the encryption mode. and you can able to edit the data retention period and enhance it. You can even enable or disable this enhanced shared level metrics as well. So currently, now let's focus, move back to our discussion. That is, currently, do we have any data in this? No, no records are there. So now let's go back to our EC2 connect and let's execute that command and generate some script to this Kinesis. So now I'm just clicking on enter. You can see it was generating a sequence number and shard ID as well. You can see the shard ID was changing. So till now up to 10 records are generated. So 10 seconds got finished. Again 10 records got 10 generated. Again after 10 seconds, it will again start and generate 10 more records. So like that, it will work based on our script that we written. So now let's verify. Let's verify, do we got the records or not, data records or not. So let's refresh. So you can see two shards are there. I'm just opening one shard. So in this latest records, I want to see the records. So for that, I'm clicking on get records. You can see no records found. No records found is there. So you just refresh so that after some time you got the records. You can even open trim horizon and just click on get record. You can see the records came. So when this record came, you can even just monitor the time as well. So 5, 2024, 23, 17, 12. So during just this minute, you can also monitor the time from here in my system. You can see 23, 18. So just now these records are generated. You can see 23, 18, 10. So I'm just again clicking on get records so that you can able to see much more latest as well. You can see 23, 18, 44 seconds as well. So like that, we are getting records and through that API call. So from where we are getting the records to this lab stream, we are getting the records through that API URL only, through that gateway API URL, and we are getting that records and storing those records inside this. You can also get the records at a particular sequence number if you remember. So currently I'm expecting to see that. So for that, we just open one record and just copy one sequence number and we can see. So you can say I just copied this and just closing this, just provided one sequence number, clicking on get record. So at this particular sequence number, so what are the records you have, those all you get, you can get. And based on sequence number, you can also get the records after that sequence number. From directly from here, you can able to observe and analyze the data. And you can also see at a particular timestamp. So records at particular date, at particular timestamp also you can able to get that. So let's say I want to see it 23 colon 20. So just now I want to see the records. So for that, I'm just clicking on get records. So currently, so these many records will be generated just now. Just now. Yeah. So now in this way, we can able to analyze our records based on starting position. So if you want latest, then just click on latest and click on get records. Then also you'll get the records. So like this, like that, we can able to get the records even by trimming as a horizon. And we can even monitor the metrics. So you can say I'm just clicking on monitor. Previously it was empty. So now let's see. So you can see one point is there which represents maximum get records. So that is something count is also there. So like this, we also get some matrices where we can able to analyze the metrics as well in this directly from this Kinesis data stream. We have multiple matrices are available directly from here. So we have achieved our task successfully. That is, we have put our records directly to our Kinesis data stream. That is a lab stream that we just created. In real time, what we did is from producer applications, we produce our data, and by using these API calls or by using Kinesis producer library or by using Kinesis agent, we will generate our records and put our records into this Kinesis data streams. Then after we just analyze that data, and if there will be any errors, then we create a SNS topic or SQS. So if you want to trigger any other services, let's say I have these many processes which are generated, these many data record process which are generated in my application. Now I want to process those whole data, those all data. So in order to do that, we need a processing unit, right? So you can able to process those by using Kinesis, by using Lambda. So you can able to process these things by using Lambda. So whenever a data is put into this lab stream, now I am expecting to trigger a Lambda function, and I am also expecting to see whether if any process is not executed or not by using SQS. So for that, you just need to open a Lambda function and create a trigger so that whenever in real time only we do the same thing. If we got any data into our Kinesis stream, then then we put our data into the Kinesis stream and we trigger our Lambda function and we process that data and we provide the response. So previously only I have generated some Lambda function for this. Now I'll show you how to trigger this Lambda function by using that Kinesis. You can see add triggers option is there. Don't worry, I have already written the code here. So you can provide add triggers. Previously providing the trigger, let us monitor the metrics as well. You can see the invocations, the no data is there. Now I'm just expecting to provide a trigger from this Kinesis. I'm just providing this trigger from this Kinesis source, that is a lab stream. And now, so just click on add so that whenever a data record that we put under our Kinesis, that will be, then this Lambda function will be triggered and that particular event will be processed. So event failure management also a crucial role here. So let's say whenever a event is not processed, then my user do not get the response, right? Yes. So in order to avoid that, we need a failure event management as well. So in order to do that, we need a SNS queue. So by using this SNS queue, you can able to route that particular event again to the same Lambda function, or else you can route it to another event bridge to route it to another service to trigger this Lambda function again. So like that, we have SQS or SNS topic in order to execute or process our failed tasks or failed events. So for that, we also need to provide this on failure destination, right? Yes. So for that, I'm just opening an SQS again. I've already created one SQS. Now I'm just expecting to use that SQS in order to get the failover notifications. You can see, yeah, I already have one SQS. So how to provide this SQS, how to use this SQS there is by using the ARN of this SQS. Just copy this ARN of your SQS and now just move back to your Lambda function and paste this there in place of on failure destination. So whenever any event got failed, then this SQS got then this SQS got triggered and you can implement the particular action. That is, if you want to execute that by using Lambda function, then you can implement from again triggering this Lambda function from that SQS. Until then, you can hold this events inside your SQS queue as well if you want. So like that, you can able to do that. So now I just provided triggering by using this Kinesis lab streams, and I also managing my on failure destination by providing that. Now I'm just clicking on add. So you can see it was loading. Now you can see my trigger got added successfully. So till now, no invocations happened. Let us see in my metrics. So after adding this and refresh, let us refresh this as well. So in order to load the latest data, we need to refresh this as well. It may take some time. So let's wait for that. Now you can see we got the results. That is in CloudWatch metrics, we got some invocations are there and some duration is there. That is time of execution and error count and success rate. So can we say our Lambda function is invoked and executed by using the trigger that we created? You can see the destination also added automatically. We haven't provided. So in previous step, we have already configured this SQS for managing or failover events, failover processing events which are happened in this Lambda function. So that was now just created here. You can see. So by using EC2 instance API and by using that EC2 instance, we just provided the records or JSON scripts into this Kinesis by using the API gateway, right? Gateway endpoint URL. Then, so whenever data that we put into this, then what happens? This Lambda function is triggered and it will execute the data which is present in it. It will process the data which is present in it. And then if any event failure happens, then this SQS will be triggered. And then again, the data will be moved back to this Lambda function to again reprocess that particular event again, right? In order to execute all our customers' queries. So if we focus on transaction data, then let's say if your money cut in between, then your transaction is failed. Do you accept that? No, right? So once you entered your PIN, your money got cut, then the transaction must happen. That is the process must happen, right? So if any process got failed also, then that process will be stored under your SQS. Then again, that process will be sent to your Lambda function. Then again, that will be executed. And then your process will be successfully completed so that no issues will be there with that, right? Yes. So this is the sample Lambda code that I have written. So don't focus on it, just focus on the concept. So I hope you understood this video and you got some knowledge from this video. You can see even from Kinesis, that is easy to instance connect. It was even generating the records continuously since we created an infinite function there, right? So that's why it was generating for every 10 seconds, 10 records, 10 seconds, 10 records. Like that, it was generating and putting those records inside our Kinesis by using API gateway URL. So whenever it puts the data into Kinesis, then that will trigger this Lambda function and process that data by using this code. And if there any event failure happens, on failure event, this SQS will be triggered and then the task will be stored here and again that will be executed by using, that will be processed again by using this Lambda function. So this is how the real-time streaming data and processing data happens. So I hope you understood this video and you got some good knowledge regarding how to trigger, how to put your data into your Kinesis by using API gateways, endpoint, and you also get a knowledge regarding how by using Kinesis, Lambda, SQS, API gateway, your data actually stored in your streams and processed by using Lambda functions. If any event failure happens, then how it again reprocessed by using Lambda function. From this video, you have learned those concepts. I think this video is contentful. If you feel this video is contentful and you got some knowledge or knowledge recap from this video, then please like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get the latest updates. Thanks for watching again. See you back in the next video with another interesting topic. Until then, bye bye, guys.